So, essentially you want to draw, the shapes of each of those shadows that you see. And, you can be doing the same exact thing when you work on your self-portrait too. So it's almost the same idea, but this is a more simplified version. So now when I hide my image, okay, I have these boxes here. So to fill these boxes, you're going to click on the circle here. And when you click on that circle, it's going to show you all the areas where it's the white box. And another important thing you want to keep in mind too, wherever your red lines are, that's where your white box is. So what's nice about Illustrator is every line that you make on a different layer, it helps to label, it helps you to know what it is by the color of the lines. So if you look at these lines here, they're all red, but if I click on this box here, that's blue, it's letting you know it's the lighter shadow, and this green's letting you know it's the darker shadow. So you want to click on the red, the white box, and you just want to flip the colors. Now a quick way to do a quick command for it is just hold Shift and X, and that'll flip it for you, or you can flip it manually. So I'm going to do Shift and X to flip it, and then you want to click on the circles up here. So now this is selecting all of the darker shadows. Shift and X to color it in, and Shift and X to color it in. So now I'm done with that one cube, and I have the correct values. So you want to do the same thing with the other shapes that you made. So again, you can hide these colors too. I'm just hiding them to see if there's any shadows there. No, so this one's already done. So then the next shape that you're going to move on to is the gray box. So you retitle it gray box. You may want to put the gray box on the very bottom just to organize it. So I'm going to call this one gray box, because these shadows here are for that white box, and then this gray box here is going to be for another set of shadows. So this next project that we're going to be doing, now this is like a more simplified version of what we're doing. You really had to organize your layers, or everything's going to be confusing. So gray box, I'm going to draw that gray box, and again I want to get this value here, which is gray. So I'm just going to do the color in the middle right there, gray. Because on the swatches, the middle looks like it's where gray is. And again, I'm just doing the strokes. Okay, the only problem is if you do the fills right away, you might have a hard time. Oh, you know what, actually? Let me do this first. You see the shadow here? Okay, you do have to incorporate that shadow in your picture somewhere, so let's do that shadow first. Again, if you're doing that shadow, you gotta make a new layer. So I'm actually gonna put this on the bottom of the white box, and I'm gonna title it the cast shadow, because that's what it is, a cast shadow. And this is gonna be a darker gray. It's actually gonna be darker than that gray. So I'm gonna pick the second darkest gray to the swatches, and I'm just going to do the stroke. So I'm just going to outline all of the grays that I see here with the pen tool. Okay, now since you organized your layers and now it's on the bottom of the white box, okay, now it's going to end up behind your white box, so you don't have to line it up perfectly to that line. Okay, so this is like behind the white box now, and I'm just going to fill in the stroke. So Shift X again, and that's for your cast shadow. Okay, now you're going to work on your gray box, and go to the gray box, click on it, and you're just going to draw your gray box. Okay, you just want to fill out the whole thing. Oh, I didn't do the fill. Okay, so make sure you leave it on stroke though, because sometimes it's hard to see where you're making your points. Alright, and then you leave it the lines. Then you get the same thing like you did before. You're going to create a darker shadow. And since, because of the way you organize, it's going to be for your gray box. and you're gonna this is gonna be I'm gonna say it's like around that kind of a gray. It's the same value as the cast shadow, so you want to use the darkest gray here. Draw that box. Okay, make sure to go all the way around though, so your lines are correct. And I'm going to, for some reason this stroke's changed, so undo that, flip it around, and then deselect it with the selection tool. Then you're going to make your lighter shadow. So you're following the same steps as the other ones. I saw you want to organize this particular one. Lighter shadow, and alright, so this is going to be like around like here. We'll use that gray. Okay, so I'm just going to do a mistake here by accident. So let's just say I did the lighter shadow on the dark shadow section. Okay, some of you may run into this problem where you do it on the wrong layer. And if it happens to be on the wrong layer, then, it's okay. Alright, so this is on the wrong layer. Now, if I wanted to fill this out, if this ends up on the wrong layer, you can fix that really easy. You can just click on the line that you made here, and just do Command X to cut, and then go on your lighter shadows and Command V to paste. Alright, so that's one way you can fix that, and you can move it around, fix it. This one's actually a little confusing because it's using gray lines for this layer. And so once you're done with all of those, then you just click on that circle next to where the color is, Shift X, click on it, Shift X, click on it, and Shift X. Okay, if you don't have it in the right layer, so let me just do one example here of why it's important to do it in the same layer. So let's just say I put this layer in the darker shadow layer here. Alright, it still does like the same thing that you wanted to intentionally do, but let's just say these were both under your lines. Okay, now the problem is if you try to click on this and you try to do you try to switch it around, it won't work because they're two different values. The top one's a lighter gray and this one's a darker gray, so the computer's a little confused. It won't flip it around. There's a question mark here, so that's why it's real important to put this one on the right layer. So Command X to cut and Command V to paste. And now when you try to add those colors, then okay, so I do Command X or Shift X. Now it's working. Okay, so you're just gonna color in all these shapes here, the correct values. When you're done, you're gonna have a lot of different layers, and some of these you might need just a little bit. All right. So that's the tutorial on doing this value study.